He rocks and he loads to the right side. Double team, finds Favors. Kick out to Trey. Left side, Trey Burke, 3-ball. It's the fourth quarter. You bet he did. Trey Burke puts the Jazz up by 2, 79-77. Welcome to Tip-Off, September 11th edition. Rudy, and more Rudy. We'll talk a lot of Rudy Gobert after his brilliant performance yesterday in the World Cup. Short shorts are back in vogue, at least in somebody's opinion in the NBA, and we'll touch on 9/11. It's all coming up on today's edition of Tip-Off. Pow! How are you? Thank you very much. The Spreecast failed, I guess, according to a bunch of people that they could not see the questions or see me on video. So I apologize for that. This time of year, what I try to do is experiment and see what we might be able to do that's better. It's interesting. Right as I wanted to go to Spreecast, a bunch of things came up and that are Google features, and suddenly I wasn't able to use it. There's some new feature where you guys can now applaud things that you like that I say on the broadcast, which I think is a little nutty. So I don't know how that's going to work or not, but that seems to be a new feature that's out there. So you'll have to tell me what that does for you. I want to take a second today before we dig in. I was doing a lot of driving yesterday. I do a lot of reading. The amount of things that are out there are just awesome, particularly in the podcast world. I'm a huge podcaster, whether, if I'm listening to 60 Minutes or Face the Nation or Slate's Political Gabfest or Fareed Zakari's GPS or what else is out there? I mean, I just listen to as much stuff as I can. Then from a sports standpoint, I have about 6 or 7 podcasts that I listen to that are just basketball. I got 5 that I try to keep football. I listen to This Week in Google and This Week in Tech, and there's just so much stuff out there. I'm just flattered that any of you would take the time at all to listen to this. I couldn't thank you enough for taking the time, particularly in September. For those of you that are just a part of this, thank you. I hope with the amount of incredible content, whether it's reading or listening content that's out there, there's a new site on Medium called Cauldron that I actually may do some writing for that's available. There's these great, we have all these great blogs. People have different opinions of me, but these guys are busting their butt. They're all great. At the effort level is just awesome. So I just want to thank you, really. I don't know how else to do it. If I could give you all tickets to a game, I would. If I had some way I could give you something that said thanks. This is my way, I guess, is thank you all for listening. Good. We have a bunch of questions that have come in today. We'll probably stay on this format after the disastrous Spreecast. Just always trying to find a little bit of something different and something else that might be able to make us a little bit better out there. Please, I'm getting old, so if there's people out there that, if you got a technology or you know of something you think we could do something with, please let me know. I mean, I mentioned it the other day on air, and I probably would need someone. Gordon says he'll teach me a little bit about it. But there's the whole new, I think it was, is it Twitch? That Amazon bought. That how do we do that? Can I suddenly do broadcasts with Gordon and Jeremy while they're playing FIBA or while they're playing some game, and I do the play-by-play or interview them during the game, or I'm the conduit that gets it up on Twitch, so you guys can all be a part of that. Who knows what it is? But we'll keep trying. So please share your ideas with me. It's a community show, and I need your thoughts. 9/11. Wow, what a day. I'll give 3 quick. First of all, you never forget and always thank the people. This is a great day. That if you see any of the people that are in our service or police force or fire worker, just thank them, right? I mean, all of them have signed up for a duty that could in turn mean that they have to do what happened on 9/11. So if you see them today, I think it's a good day to say thanks. It's interesting to me. I would just give you 2 thoughts. One, I would have never imagined that our world would be what it is in 2014. On that day 13 years ago. And I would have thought that our country would have been more together. If there was ever anything that should bring us together, that's it. I'm not surprised the ISIS and the world that we live in. Thomas Friedman had written the book Lexus and the Olive Tree at that point and had written about the fact that we were going to have 3, we have superpower countries, super economic trends, and super powered individuals, and that in this new world, that the individual globalization, that the individual was going to be able to, the superpowered individual is going to be able to have both positive influence if they did something like cured cancer or created new technology, but also a negative influence if they were crazy terrorist. So that's not that's not stunning to me that we're in this kind of chaos world that we're in. But I don't know. That's just my thought. I just never would have thought that we were, by 13 years later, that we would have lost what togetherness we should have had coming out of that as a country. So hopefully it doesn't take something like that to bring us back together. All right, let's get to the fun stuff, which is talking a little hoops. And I was at Open Gym again yesterday. It's just so fun to see everybody going at it, and I don't even, they're just playing ball. It's just being in a gym with guys playing ball. It seems really basic, but for whatever reason, that fires me up. But let's Rudy Gobert was just awesome yesterday. I don't know if this is going to work because I don't think I've ever really gotten this feature to work correctly. But there's a feature on this called YouTube. If you're watching it live on the left side of your screen, you can go to it. I'm going to get an advertisement here, so I can skip. Watch this block by Rudy Gobert. I think you guys have to push a button on yours as well on YouTube to see it, but I'll walk you through it. If you're just on the audio version, I'll walk through it. Gobert has got it at the left. There's so much to this play that tells you how much Rudy has grown. Gobert has it on the left. Gasol has it on the left elbow in a very European set. In which everything has been cleared out. Gobert's got him one-on-one, left elbow. If you've got a dotted line down the middle, there's a guy at the top of the key, and if you look to the right side of the international paint, there's not another player in the paint. This is Rudy Gasol, one-on-one, nothing. And here comes Gasol, and he starts baseline with a left-hand dribble, comes back to his right. Gobert goes up and swats it with his left hand. Worth noting that Rudy blocks this with his left hand. There's so much to this play that's so brilliant. And let's walk. As we're watching it again, I'll walk you through the things. First of all, Rudy had to move his feet and backpedal beautifully. Second thing, Rudy doesn't reach. He holds verticality, which is going to be a huge aspect in the NBA. And the third one is that Rudy's gotten strong enough to stay enough on balance that he could coil his strength and legs and then go up and block the shot, and again with his left hand. It's a tremendous play by Rudy for those reasons. The ability to hold his balance, move his feet, not reach, quick enough to coil and get up, and then strong enough to hold his balance. Rudy also had another pretty fabulous play in that game in which he had a beautiful catch and dunk off of a give around the paint, which I think is a huge step for Rudy. The fact that he's able to do that, because that's a new aspect to what he. Here's another highlight package for you of Rudy. We'll just catch it. If you guys have clicked the YouTube button, you should be getting. If not, I'll walk you through it. This is great ball movement. Fabulous catch on the left side. And again, the speed by which Rudy gets up for this dunk is new. Batum goes inside, touch pass. Rudy catches it in one motion, up and dunking. There's a confidence level to the way he's moving with that that's different than he has been before. But there's also a strength and balance that he just didn't have the year. Pretty awesome stuff. Let me see if I can get back to normal. All right, it's now playing in the background. I got to figure out how to stop it. I think we're done. I don't know if that worked, by the way. Somebody in the chat room can tell me whether you got it. Last time I tried something like that, I believe that nobody actually was able to see the video. So maybe you saw that or not. But you're seeing a strength, a confidence, a balance, which is related to that strength, that's letting everything else in Rudy's game come together. It's very exciting if you're a Jazz fan. I have a tendency to temper the enthusiasm on things like this, but we're seeing a continued progression on Rudy. And the key to all of it goes to a Dennis Lindsay quote in the Zach Lowe piece on Grantland where he said Gobert loves it. It goes to a quote from the French coach Vincent Collet, who said he has a real desire to be good. Rudy is obsessed with being good in this game. He is not content. He is not some quiet European, I don't know what that is, quiet basketball player, frankly, who is, I haven't yet to meet actually any European that comes to the U.S. and is just content, or any NBA player, frankly. But he's got a drive. He's got a little bit of a jerk level to him, frankly, if you're around him every day. He's got an edge. It's beautiful. These are the things that make you really, really good in this league. And his desire to be really, really good is there. He just had a fabulous game, 13 boards, which is, Gasol brothers and Ibaka combined for 14, and France pulls off a mammoth upset of Spain. The biggest upset of FIBA, huge story. Spain is supposed to be the team that's going to challenge the U.S., win at home, get that game. Everything's about Spain, U.S., and France just blasted them, and Rudy played a tournament-high minutes, controlled the paint, took away the strength of Spain. Their whole game plan was to force Ricky Rubio and Jose Calderon and their outside shooters to shoot. Rubio went 1 for 7. France held the middle, and they held the middle with another young big who's going to be an NBA player as well. And Rudy Gobert. How fabulous for Rudy. And I think the other thing you're seeing on a lot of this is a confidence. Rudy's going to come to camp and believe, hey, I was good enough to lead my French team to hopefully a medal. I mean, it would be the first ever, I believe, French medal in FIBA play. And with that kind of confidence and that experience, he's going to come to this, expect to play, expect to be able to get out there, expect to do things, expect to be really good. It's just terrific. The next question is, what do you do about minutes? I actually think that to some extent Rudy's going to dictate his own minutes. And I've said this the whole time. Nothing's changed here. There's 3 things Rudy is going to have to learn how to do to get more time and more minutes on the floor. One, he's got to shoot free throws. He's still below 50%. Ben Doss, I don't have it up in front of me on Salt City Hoops. Ben, is it Dossett or I apologize. Wrote a good piece kind of with a reality check on the back, same way that Zach Lowe did. He's got to be able to shoot free throws. He's at 50% international play. It's prohibitive. Right now he's DeAndre Jordan, which is great. I really think that's the comparison to who he is. He's very much DeAndre Jordan-esque. But the one thing DeAndre Jordan can do is he's learned how to stay out of foul trouble. And he's learned how, when he gets the ball in traffic offensively, to be able to move it around and do things. Those are the 3 primary things that Rudy Gobert is going to have to do, and those are going to dictate his minutes. He's going to get in foul trouble an awful lot. DeAndre Jordan used to. And that's probably going to dictate his minutes as much as anything. But it's going to be interesting. I'm very curious to see, as time goes on, how Quinn plays him versus first team versus second team bigs. The way our roster is, I don't think it quite works, but I almost would start Gobert and let him, and I felt the same way. This is the Jerome James model of the Seattle Supersonics under Nate McMillan the year they win the division. He's not necessarily probably your best big, but he's so big, if you haven't guarded LaMarcus Aldridge for the first 5-6 minutes of the game, it just unnerves Aldridge's entire game and makes it so that Aldridge is uncomfortable. Now, it probably screws up what you're doing with Canner, and I don't know how you space the floor with Gobert and Favors, and there's all sorts of problems to it, but there's an argument that you go put him on the best post player for the opening 5-6 minutes of the game. If he avoids foul trouble, he can have a real impact. The other thing that there's an argument on is that he's so foul prone. It's hard to play him at the end of quarters, because if you're already in the penalty when you put Gobert on the floor and he starts to reach, he's going to really hurt you. So there's a large progression that still has to go, but you're seeing him get a great deal better. And I'll tell you, the big man minutes are interesting, because it's no question that open gym, 2 things. Trevor Booker is a far better player than I ever had any idea. Maybe because I said this yesterday, maybe out of my ignorance, but he's a far better player than I had any idea in what he's able to do. His athleticism is really high. His ball handling's better than I would have expected. Frankly, I hate to put this expectation on him. He reminds me an awful lot of a 25-year-old Paul Millsap. I don't know. I think Booker might be a little older after 4 years of college, but he really reminds me of a 3-year in the NBA Paul Millsap, kind of evolving out of the guy who's getting you all the extra possessions. Booker's 26. He'll turn 27 early in the season. He's 6'8". He reminds me a tremendous amount of kind of that the transitioning Millsap from the guy who just got you all the extra possessions to the guy who actually became an all-star player in Atlanta last year. You know, Paul's probably more skilled, but I don't know. We'll see. You'll be surprised. I think Booker. So now you got Booker, you got Gobert, you got Favors, you got Kanter, and Novak can just shoot it. It's crazy the level Novak can shoot it. Crazy. I mean, it's funny to watch the guys in the open gym because Novak's shooting it, and everybody else is oohing and on. Hey, if he gets off catch and shoot, he doesn't have a lot to his game. But his catch and shoot is just crazy. And you can see where it's opening up things for everybody else to get to the rim. Trey comes off something and Novak pulls. And you'd like to have one big roll and one big pop. And if you've got Gobert on the floor, then how are Gobert and Favors going to work together? That's hard. That's a Gobert and Kanter, maybe, because Kanter can run to the corner and shoot that three this year. And get that outside shot. Gobert and Booker as your second team bigs, pretty good group, actually. I think that's where I start to think that this team could do a little bit of surprising than what we expect. I think you're undermanned on probably your starting five due to youth, but Gobert and Booker is your third and fourth bigs with Novak as a specialist. It's pretty good. I tweeted that out yesterday. To that extent. So I don't know how Gobert's minutes are going to play. My guess is that Gobert's minutes are going to play largely based on Gobert. But there are creative ways for Quinn, and Quinn is a mad scientist. I mean, he's just, this brain is something else. And he's going to try to figure out things. And is there a way that somehow, I don't think Booker and Kanter really work well together. Is there some other combination that there's Gobert and Novak? I don't know how you do it. It's all got to work inside the mix. It's not just one of the things I think we've done too often as a fan base is we just isolate our one guy. I want this guy to play. Well, okay, it's going to impact four other guys. So how do we do that? What do we do? How do we get it all to work together? Anyway, it's exciting. It's really, really exciting. The progression we're seeing out of Rudy. We saw it last year. I've said this before. He'll be a much better teammate when he's not a rookie. He didn't take to being a rookie very well last year. He didn't understand that concept of American basketball. He's got confidence, and there's got to be a huge amount of credit given to Mark McCowan and the Jazz strength and conditioning staff. I mean, look at the level of development from the day I was in the gym with him on a workout. When he just swats Brandon Davies to the other end of the earth on a fast break and has this amazing workout, and any of us in the building that night knew the Jazz are drafting this guy. And if you remember listening to our draft day coverage that Spence and I did, I called it the minute Denver took him. I was like, we bought that pick. That's our guy. I knew the Jazz were trying to go get him. You give great credit to Dennis Lindsey, Kevin O'Connor, and the staff on that one, where they found a guy. Went and bought a pick. Thank you to the Millers, never having done that before. Pay $3 million to go get this guy. What an incredible decision that's going to turn out to be. Because this guy's going to be a player in the NBA. I mean, he's going to be DeAndre Jordan, possibly Roy Hibbert, possibly Tyson Chandler-esque. I mean, there's a role that you can play in this league as this good a pick setter, this good a dunker, if he can catch defensively, and with his foot movement and the strength he's getting. He's going to play. This is terrific. I'm geeked. Probably too much coffee because I'm running like 1,000,000 miles an hour today. But it's fabulous. And I think the minute thing is a little bit of there's a lot of guys there. So, we'll see how it all plays out. But we've got 5 legitimate bigs who deserve minutes, and you've got 96 minutes between them, and yeah, sure. All right, good. So on certain matchups, on certain nights, and different things, different guys will get their times, and maybe guys won't wear out as much as they did. I'd take it as a positive, not as a negative. And let's hope that Rudy can follow through with this. But truly, talk about the development level from the guy I saw at the workout to who he is today. There's Mark McCowan. His strength and conditioning staff just deserves an enormous amount of credit. So does the Jazz coaching staff of a year prior, and Alex Jensen for his work with him of getting him to this point. This is a remarkable development level in a year, because he wasn't ready to play when he got to us. He was better at training camp than we thought. He just keeps getting better every step of the way than anyone anticipated and expected, and he probably should have. I've said this before. The one thing I just didn't get last year was the minutes at the end of the year. Jeremy Evans, I thought, had shown what he could show. He had a lot of minutes. Rudy in those minutes would have been a nice thing just to see a little bit more of him, but we're seeing it now. I will add on to this as I just kind of continue to ramble. I think he's gonna be tired, and they're gonna have to do something. This thing's gonna finish in a week. I may say, hey, September 1 with everybody else. It's or September whatever. I think that Monday, the 29th or 30th, somewhere in there, with everybody else. Go rest. Go. You're playing great, but you've played summer league into this. It's been incredibly emotional. Just you're fine. We'll see you. We'll see you then. And the fact that Rudy went through summer league with Quinn is a big deal because he is ready and probably won't be behind on the curve. All right, lots of craziness there. All right, let's run through some questions. I've got a bunch of other stuff I was going to talk about, but I think this is what's driving the day. So let's go to it. Tony Anderson throws in a question today. Hypothetically, if Rudy continues to develop this rate, does that hurt Derek Favors' chances to stick around long term since they are probably a bit redundant? I think it has to do with how Derek evolves. Does Derek evolve some of a four-man game? Does Derek evolve in his passing in the open gym that I've seen has been elite? Elite's strong. Has been good. Has been strong. So I think a lot of it has to do with how each of their games evolve. Hopefully these guys aren't set at who they are, right? So sure, Derek Favors today and Rudy Gobert today, I have a hard time visualizing how they play together. The same way I have a hard time visualizing how Derek Favors today and Enes Kanter today play together. But hopefully that's not who they are. Hopefully Enes Kanter can now stretch his game out with the freedom that Quinn's going to give him to become more of a stretch big offensively and be able to show some versatility. And hopefully defensively Kanter can find a way to be productive. And hopefully Favors can continue to be a good ball mover out of the elbow and do some things so that if he's more of a threat than just his shooting, and hopefully his shooting continues to develop a tiny bit, or he figures out how to play in the kind of the mid-block level in a better way. So I think it's, sure, Tony, at this exact moment, I think all three of them are very redundant upon each other. From what we've seen out of Kanter at this point, I don't think he can play with Gobert. From what we've seen out of Favors at this point, I don't think he can play with Gobert. From what we've seen out of Kanter and Favors, I don't think they can play together. But I'm hoping that that's not who they are. Right? This is why last year Marvin Williams started. This is why Jeremy Evans played the backup four last year. It's because as those players were being used, from what we've seen, they didn't gel together particularly well. And so now the job for the mad scientist Quinn Snyder is to put these guys in positions and use them on a floor in a way in which they can be productive. Jazz are going to run a bunch of interesting stuff. I mean, Summer League, we saw these double elbow bigs at action off the elbow. We ran stunningly little action off elbows in our old offense in a day where the elbow really has become a vital part of the offense if you think about Marc Gasol in Memphis. And, we ran a neat set in the Summer League where each wing went to the corner, each big went to the elbow, and the point guard comes off. Well, in the Summer League, most of the time he would throw the elbow and then he would cut off it and you'd get into some action, or they'd run a little back pick and almost run it, he'd almost run to the corner instead of pick, and you get a little triangle action over there, something like that. Well, if you can get Favors, it doesn't seem like that's a very good threat from a shooting standpoint if you have both Favors and Gobert out there that both can't shoot. But frankly, Marc Gasol, who's a pretty good shooter, and Zach Randolph, who's not a great shooter from there, have been able to do it because you can get enough action if you're passing the ball and moving the ball well enough to have those guys out there together and run some good picks and some good action. And we even ran some interesting kind of flops. I know it's not floppy. Floppy's a different play. But we ran some things where we kind of reversed that elbow action and got those bigs on the move. And there's some ways for Quinn to be able to use them. So your question, Tony, is great, and it's accurate. Now the question is, can those players evolve and the coaching staff get them to evolve? Is it just me, Or am I like running at 1,000,000 miles an hour today? I feel like I'm flying. This stuff is good today. That would be my coffee for those on the visual. Clint Peterson, who is sticking with us throughout everything. Many had Spain beating Team USA in the FIBA final. Can France, provided they and the U.S. both get through? I don't. I never thought Spain could beat the U.S. So let me say that. I sometimes think we overdo this. I listen to Zach Lowe and Fran Francella's podcast, and I think we all know I think the world is Zach. So I get nervous every time in this day and age of the internet if I disagree with someone that someone's going to tweet out at. Like, here was the problem that I had with that whole conversation about Spain beating the U.S. And that is that generally every player in the starting five for the U.S. would start over a starting five player on Spain. Maybe not free, but probably. In the way, but Anthony Davis is better than anybody they have. Kyrie is better than anybody. Clay's better than their shooting guard. Right there, we're better at every position in the starting five. We're frankly better 1 through 9 at every position, other than maybe Pau Gasol better than Kenneth Faried, but I'm not sure. So I understand the concept that they've played together more, that they're more of a team, and all of that, but we're better than them at every position. And, it's even to the thing of, like, I think Quinn's going to add a new element to this team. I think we're going to play a different game. I think our offense is going to be more modernized. Our defense is going to be more detailed. There's all sorts of positives that I think are going to take place here. I don't know if we're going to win any more games because there's just a talent. You have to have more talent than the other team to beat them. Our schedule's nice. We've got, I think, 19 teams coming in on back-to-backs, or maybe it's 23, like a quarter of our games, or we're rested and the other team's tired. And there's a bunch of ways, opening night against Houston, they'll have played the night before in L.A. I was talking to Craig Ackerman, the Rockets voice, yesterday. There's a bunch of things like that. We're going to get some in those things, but it still comes down to Dwight Howard's better than Derek Favors, and Terrence Jones is probably better than Enes Kanter, and Patrick Beverly and Trey Burke are probably pretty even, and Gordon Hayward's probably better than Trevor Ariza, so we have an edge there. And Alec Burks, who the heck is Houston's 2? Oh, James Harden. James Harden's better than Alec Burks, right? So, like, to some extent on that night, they can be tired, and we can be at home, and it can be opening, and we can have all these other factors that are pushing us. And Quinn could be putting in all this great stuff. They're better than we are. And that's how I felt about USA and Spain. So that's how I feel about USA and France. Now, go add Tony Parker, and suddenly their point guard's better than our point guard, and Nicholas Batum, and their 3 is better than our 3. And now we got a different ballgame. I know they have Batum right now, but I think you understand where I'm going with that. Let's go to. Well, I just got asked by somebody who's clearly just jumping on for no. Do I ever experience depression, and what is your definition of life? Wow. He also asked, what is your expectation for the war on terror in the Middle East? What is the disease that will heal the disease that in the Middle East I live there? Yeah, I'm not that smart. So I don't really know the answers to those questions. So let's go to the questions I think I can answer. How do you see Rudy's emergence impacting Kanter? Would you assume no way Jazz extend him early? I don't think Rudy's, on this specific, I don't think Rudy, all right, first of all, I think there's no chance the Jazz get Enes Kanter or Alec Burks signed before opening night. Kanter, because from what he's done so far as a player, I'm not sure if I were the Jazz I would commit. If I was Kanter's agent, he's my one and only primary client. He has like 1 or 2 more. I would want big money because I need to build my agency, and if I'm Enes, I'm probably only getting big money. I don't even know. I guess this is the way I would say it. I'm not sure Kanter would take the Favors deal, and I'm not sure if I was the Jazz I would offer the Favors deal. Okay, well, this is the same way at this point on Gordon. I told you guys last year there was no way that deal was getting done. I think there's no way that deal's getting done. Alec's a little different. If the Jazz were to stretch beyond where Alec has been, maybe you can get him done, but then you got to figure out if you really want to do that. So I think there's almost no chance you're getting either of these guys signed. So then the next question is, Does Rudy's emergence impact Cantor in the extension? No. Cantor impacts Cantor. Cantor has to be able to play well enough to show that he's worth it. If Rudy plays better than Cantor, sure, in that sense, that would impact it. But Cantor's got to impact Cantor. Here comes another question from the great Clint Peterson. You are correct about Booker. I see it as well. When the Jazz acquired him, many Wizard fans said we call Booker Millsap light. Yeah, he's a much better athlete than Millsap was when Millsap got in the league, at least from what I remember. But maybe I've underestimated Paul's athleticism his entire career. His shooting is greatly improved. He's a little undersized defensively. I think the same thing we saw with Paul's a problem there. I have been very impressed by Booker in the open gym in the 2 days that I've been there. From Brian, good question. Carlos Arroyo's brilliant performance, 2004 Olympic tournament, excited Jazz fans, but he busted with the Jazz and a marginal NBA career. What did you see yesterday in Gobert's performance that should temper Jazz fans' enthusiasm? I don't think there's anything that should temper your enthusiasm, but Rudy has the same things that I've said he's going to have to learn how to do. This is a guy, I don't think he'll ever have any range on his offensive game, so that will always be a limitation on him. But nor does Roy Hibbert, nor does DeAndre Jordan, nor does Tyson Chandler. They've all been able to play in the league. He's not going to shrink, so those are still very valuable. But he's going to have to learn how to make free throws. He's going to have to learn how to play in traffic offensively. He's going to have to learn without fouling, playing without fouling. Those are the three things that are going to impact Gobert's minutes. They're the same things that are going to impact Gobert out of summer league. I think yesterday was just a culmination of strength and confidence growth over the last 12 months for Rudy, and it all came together in a great matchup for him, and he was terrific. When we're playing Houston, he's going to get some minutes on Dwight, and then that's a tough one because Dwight's so strong. And then the next night we go to Dallas, and they've got Tyson Chandler. I don't know, actually, if he's that valuable against Tyson Chandler because, frankly, Tyson Chandler's not an offensive player. So, it's going to depend on a given night who he matches up against. Who does he guard? Who does he possibly guard in Phoenix, right? Does he guard Plumlee? Maybe. Plumlee's made a game out of this. So there's a role and a spot for him, and I don't know if he's a 30-minute-a-night player. Maybe at some point he is. But Indiana, remember this about Indiana. Indiana's been playing with Roy Hibbert, who's that restricted offensively, and they're terrible offensively because of it. They're really hurt by Roy Hibbert's inability to do anything offensively. It's a huge limitation. This is you go give draft workout, I think, elbow jumpers. I think they did a drill where you take 15. This was a year or two ago, but 50. I think Rudy makes 5, right? I think if Rudy takes 15 elbow jump shots, he's making 5. That's a problem. So those are the things that are going to prohibit him from getting to the next level. From Steven. If Gobert is to get about 15 minutes or so, could he start? He plays the first 3 or 4 minutes of each quarter with Cantor and finishes Cantor finishing the final 8 or 9. That's the way to help Gobert going to the line as much. Steven, there's something to this. I don't know how he plays with Favors, and I don't see how Cantor and Booker play together, but if we're just isolating Gobert, there's a huge point here that if you're just isolating Gobert, let me say it again, if you're just isolating Gobert, there's a real argument that you're better off starting him when you're not in the penalty for free throw shooting and you're not in the penalty defensively. And he guards the best offensive player on the other team and probably knocks them out of their rhythm. There's a real argument to that. Not sure how the rest of the group is impacted by that. From Sky Goose. We have a big audience for September 11th today. Which player has impressed you the most at Open Gym? Probably Trevor Booker. Probably should. He's the oldest one there. Trevor Booker has impressed me the most. But maybe also because when Alec has an explosion of the rim and gets up on the cup, I've seen it a lot. I know it's there. That's nothing. It's impressive, but it's not surprising. So maybe I'm answering who has surprised me the most, and the answer is Trevor Booker. I think he'll be a real fan favorite if people are willing to look at Trevor Booker for his game, not every minute he's playing one of your young guys is not. Trevor Booker's pretty young. I like Trevor Booker. I'm very pleased that the Jazz have an option on Trevor Booker next year. I think he's very good. Uh, I think he's a legit third big a very good third big in the NBA. He's probably too short to be a regular starting power forward. I said the same thing about Millsap, by the way, and he just became an all-star. So what do I know? But I really like him. He's been impressive. Anybody else? No. Yeah, I mean Alec Burks defensively. I was surprised yesterday. Alec Burks defensively. I thought I could be wrong because I don't know enough about defense to know what I'm talking about. But I thought Alec Burks defensively was pretty impressive yesterday, guarding Trey a lot of the time in their little 5-on-5 game they had. I thought it was interesting, and I don't know why the 5-on-5 game was cross-matched. So Trey was guarding. I can't remember. Might have been Ian. And Alec was guarding Trey. And I thought gave Trey, was it up in his shorts, battling him. I liked it. I have high hopes for Alec this year. It's September. We have high hopes for everyone. I have high hopes for Alec this year. Can this team surprise? Maybe. Maybe we're the Phoenix Suns of last year. Don't have any veterans, but they didn't either. Well, PJ Tucker had been through a lot. But maybe, right? Cantor was able to stretch out, play well. You've got Booker and Gobert as your backup bigs, which is pretty good. You got Novak as a specialist. Gordon is an upper-level small forward in the NBA. Alec Burks takes the next step. Trey's still learning. Dante's young, but do you need Rodney Hood solid? Maybe. What's surprising? 30? Is 30 a surprising number? Do you need 35 to call it a surprise? Discuss on Locked On Sports Google+. Thanks, guys. Again, I'm going to say it for a while. I'm blown away that you take the time to listen to this. I really appreciate it, and have a great day.